How we doing today, guys? Welcome to what will actually be my first video of this series on Transport Fever. Now I had to, looks like cancel the other series because looks like I hadn't really played it in a while, and then I decided, well, I wanted to add a bunch of mods in there, and that probably wasn't a good idea. When I turned those on, something in there kind of caused things on that to go a little bit haywire, so I just decided I better go with just start a new series here. Alright, let's choose what I don't want to see on the map. That's good. Of course, this will give me an opportunity, though, to show some of the mods that are available for this game. There's some pretty good ones, do some interesting things. So, since we're starting off fresh, I need to decide what do I want to do first. Well, this kind of looks like a slam dunk right here, because we got the food production, food processor, and we got towns. One right there, and then this one right here. I mean, theoretically, I could do all this with just wagons. But wagons are so slow that it might not be a bad idea just to use a train, but well, and actually there is another option, and that's one of the mods that I can show you. And just for the purposes of get this starting the way I would like to start, I guess I'll go ahead and show that off. Now, I started on hard mode, which means I only have 1.2 million. However, now this mod, if I use it right here, which I think I will, you might say, well, it completely annuls any effect of starting in hard mode. But what I would say is, considering how actual railroad companies and things like that work, I think it probably is accurate, or at least more accurate to how companies work. So let's see if I can find it. Where is it? Here it is. The miscellaneous pork barrel. So each one of these I set down gives me $500,000. Now, it doesn't matter where you set them, so I just try and set them in a place that looks rather natural. So now I got 1.7, 2.2, up to 2.7 million. Now, I'm going to try not to do that too much in the game, but it's an interesting mod that, if you want to be able, it's a nice thing to have just in case you accidentally get yourself in a squeeze. You might want to have it around even if you don't use it constantly. And as I said, I think, most companies, big companies, even back in the old days, I think to a large extent, railroads, they got grants and stuff from the government, or from local governments and things like that, or the federal government to do all these things. I don't think that much has actually changed as far as that goes. So that's a way that you could kind of say, well, that's what's happening there. You can use that, give that money, and say, maybe these two cities here would be subsidize me some money to make a rail line in between there, and to supply them, make rail lines so I can supply them with food. I mean, and that's not uncommon for the kind of things that actually happen. But as I said, now I'm going to try and limit my use of that kind of thing, because I don't want to completely completely have to not worry about my money. We still need to make a working business here. Okay, now this is another mod. I think it's called Track Rules or something like that. Track Rules Plus. And with that, each set of track you put down has a certain speed limit. Now, that is one thing you have to be careful, though, is this is only in kilometers per hour. Now, if you're an American like me, then you have to remember your kilometers per hour. What I figured out is when you translate that to miles per hour, it's going to be like take 30 minus 11. And that's what your miles per hour is going to be. So it's only like it's only 19 miles per hour if you put this 30 kilometer one down. So yeah, that, I mean, you don't want to use that much for anything. Maybe the only thing you would use that for, at least what I would use it for, is like from maybe your depots on to whichever until it gets to whatever line it's supposed to be, because even though your very first engines, the oldest one, have a 25 mile per hour speed limit, so you really don't want to be using 19 mile an hour track. Not on the main line. Like I said, that's just basically just a ferry trains onto the main lines from the depots and such. As a matter of fact, and just to make sure I don't have some new glitch that I started in that other game, the first thing I might put down might be a depot, which honestly that probably isn't a good idea. It's usually better to figure out where exactly your stations are going to be, but I'll take a chance on having to figure that out. I will put a depot in first, just because I want to check something here real quick. 19,000, that's a pretty good price for a depot. And I can also explain some things for things. Okay, so it worked, so I don't have any lingering effects. Now, another thing that was changed is something that balanced the prices and speeds of, well, I won't say it balanced the speed. Basically what it is, you see the 620 miles per hour here. And what that is a mod that basically it just inflated the speed of all your cars, all your wagons, so they would be able to go whatever the speed of the engine is. The speed limit for cars is really no longer a factor. So now you just have to worry about your speed limit of your engines, which for these 25 miles an hour. Now something else it fixed is the prices. Now this is less than 80,000. Originally this thing costs like, I think it's $172,000, something like that. Which, I mean, I like this mod because in my opinion $172,000 in 1850 for just a simple car, that to me seemed pretty ridiculous. I'm fairly confident they weren't spending that kind of money just to slap together a car. And the cargo cars are even cheaper, and in my opinion that is very accurate. I mean, how much money does it really take to, you know, slap together this wagon here, put some sides on it, and, you know, set it on the track? I mean, I don't think it cost, oh, I can't remember exactly what these things cost. Originally, I'm pretty sure they were at least $50,000. Probably, I'm sure this one was probably more because it holds more. But now that is another thing that was balanced, is the capacity. Because I think this originally, I think this was a 7 capacity and this was a 4. And now it's up to 6. And same thing here, so this didn't change much, it only went up by 1. That, I think, went up by 2. I believe that was a 7 capacity as well. This holds 11. That was a 7. So anyway, you get the point. Now here is a mod in. It's a caboose. It's pretty small, and it's only usable for cargo. But it looks nice. I like it. And then these are mod-ins as well. Now these are supposed to be Russian cars, but I thought they looked good, so I thought I'd add them in. But, okay. I don't think there's anything else, at least not at the moment, that requires explanation. So I'm going to try and see if I can get with the money I have. I'm going to try and get a passenger line going between, I must have accidentally turned the town names off. Where is it? Tempe and Bellevue here, and I'm going to try and set up food production and supply to Bellevue. And then if I'm really lucky, maybe I'll have enough to supply food down here to Tempe as well. That is Tempe, Renee, it is. Now just because I enjoy playing with the trains much more than the wagons and such, so I'm going to do that first. Set up the train line. Passengers. Oh, underground. We can do underground stations, but I'm not going to be doing that right now because I don't really have a ton of money. And as I said, I don't want to be putting down a ton of those pork barrels so I can afford it in any case. They didn't do underground stations in 1850, I don't think. It's not that I'm aware of. I might be wrong, but it wasn't standard, I know that. Now, one thing to consider is I like to try and put in as long a platform as possible with as many tracks as possible, usually, considering what need I think I'm going to have down the road so I don't have to upgrade later. I mean, so how many other routes out of Bellevue are there probably going to be? There'd be one. We're going to do one to Tempe right now. Later, there's probably going to be one to Seattle. And then there'd probably be a separate one to Baltimore. So, at some point, maybe one to Coral Springs. So probably, let's put 4 tracks in. I mean, because if possible, it's much more efficient if you can have each line using a separate track in the station. You always want to do that when possible. If you can do it without bankrupting yourself. But sometimes putting in a station this big right away, sometimes it's not feasible, but it's preferable. So, is that where I want to... So, look at this for a second. Do I really want to put the station there? I could slap it in right there, but it would cost me, like, I think that's more than double the price of the station, though. I don't know if I put it right there. That's a little cheaper, but oops. What would it cost me? Oops. Wrong button. See, now I think that's actually a little bit cheaper. However, I mean, actually, if I put the station up here, it'd make more sense to make my first line to Seattle, but that's fine, I can do that. That's not a big deal. Let's just do it like that. Because in my opinion, the cost of putting in a little extra road is not that much compared to the massive costs of putting a station in on ground that's just not suitable. cost me $29,000 to do that. And then I'll do small road, do that, 2,000. And it does catch a little bit of this on its own, but then I'm going to have to put a little, well, technically a bus route, but at this time it's actually going to be a wagon route. Alright, so we're down there. So I could put one right there, and that pretty much catches everything, almost, except for this little bit out here. And let's see, deselect that. Now see, if I put it out here, that is in range of the station, and it would catch those last few buildings on the end there. Nah, I don't want to do that, because I don't want the passengers to have to walk that far. It slows down how quickly they get to the station a lot. So I'm going to do it like that. Alright, so now let's figure out where am I going to put the station on the side. Ew, this ground does not look that favorable. That's kind of on sitting on a hill right here or something. What about, no. This looks, man, when I turn it that way it's not as favorable, but it's not too bad though either. Yeah, I'll just put it right there, it'll be fine. Alrighty, now, let me see that, now. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I might have to make this a 3-stop town, because I would like to get everything covered if possible. Yeah, let's do 3 stops on this one. Or, well, actually, technically it's going to be 4, because then I got to have this one to take people, that drops people off to get to the station. Which, I mean, you do want to try and minimize how often you do that this early because the wagons are so slow. But what I think I'll do is I'm probably going to have 2 separate lines cover that so it doesn't take all day for each wagon to get through the whole route. Instead of doing that, have one line get these 3, and then the other one just go from here to this one and come straight back. I won't worry about this one. It saves a little bit of time that way, because otherwise just it takes too long, because they're just so slow. Alrighty, so now for this day and age, we just want to use the 40 mile an hour. I mean, that exceeds the speed limit of my current trains available. Matter of fact, you know, now actually I did not check if there's a difference between the cost in these two. It looks like there is. Maybe not. Oh, it's hard to tell for sure. Yeah, there might be, but if there is, it's not that much. Okay, now that's another thing. I just realized I may have made it air. Well, no, that's probably fine. Should have looked around a little more carefully before I just put in another 4-track station, but it looks like 4 tracks for this station. Looks like it should be good as well. But one thing you want to consider is which track goes to which city. So that's another thing I need to think about. I think we'll use this one. Okay, so I'm going to have to cross that road up there, then come down here. I like to minimize how many road crossings I have to do if possible, so that way I won't have to cross this one as well if I go stay on the side. Of course, now we don't want to make too long stretches at a time, because when you do that, it tends to do unnecessary things to the terrain, and when you start moving the terrain around, it's very costly. Very costly indeed. Okay, so now I need to look at this. What track do I want to put this one on? Top one there. Now, ideally, I probably should have done a little bit more gentler curve there instead of one that tight, but I mean, that close to the station, I'm not going to be losing that much speed anyway. Matter of fact, I probably won't lose any at all for these early trains. But for the later ones that actually can get some speed up, they'll have to slow down back here for that curve. But yeah, you're getting so close to the station, it's not going to make a big difference, I don't think, anyway. Oops. Now see, that's why I was saying it really is probably not a good idea to make your train depot before your stations, because I was thinking I'd put the station there, then it ended up over here, so now the depot is kind of out of location. However, what I could do, and what I was thinking of doing anyway, is just make a track that goes all the way through to Bellevue to Tempe, because I gave myself that pork barrel money. It looks like I have the money to do that if I wanted to. I think so. I think I got the money to do that. And that way, the truck would have to come around down here, so that would make the depot would kind of make sense. But even then, though, that's not an ideal location, because you want your depots fairly close to a station for when you decide to change an engine out. You don't want to have to go real far to get to the depots. Now, that's if you're not using, what's it called? Automatic replacement. And honestly, I kind of have fun trying not to use it, trying to keep up with doing the replacements manually. And it kind of makes things a little more interesting when you do it that way. I don't know, that might be, I think I got the money for that. Of course, now, if you have for one single line going to 3 cities, ideally you would want at least 2 trains running that route, especially as slow as these ones are. But I might not have money to get 2 trains. But I think it would still be profitable. I'm pretty confident of that, at least eventually it would be. So just for the sake of not having to relocate my depot, which I mean, honestly, it wouldn't cost that much money. It cost a lot less to do that than it would be to build another station down here, but I kind of want to do that anyway, instead of just doing one line between every two towns. Sometimes I think it's a little more efficient if you do one line to cover 3 different towns. You know, a lot of times I like to do them in 3s. And that way it kind of reduces the amount of lines you have running, and it reduces the number of tracks that you have to use per station, because as I said, you want to minimize, well, you want to have each line using a separate track, but in this case you're going to have the same track servicing 3 different towns, so it minimizes a little bit of the need for the extra tracks. Terrain does change a little bit here, yeah, so I'm going to be careful with that, because it's kind of digging a trench, and then my prices just skyrocket. You know what, I better figure out where is the station going to be. Let's see, where is residential at? Residential is over here. So, what if I put this to, oh my god, $500,000? Yeah. I think I'm going to have to put it over here away from the residential, just because it's way too much money. Way too much money. Some point I'll close that, make it kind of like a little square there, but for now I'm just going to leave it like this. I don't want to use unnecessary money until I know how much I have at the end of this. Okay, so then, wow, compared to most of these towns, Tempe is actually kind of isolated. There's probably only going to be 2 tracks going down here out of Tempe, one to Midland, one to Wilmington. And that is my timer telling me I've been on this video for 28 minutes. And I just set that because I want each video to be approximately 30 minutes. So I figure at 28 minutes, by the time I get done with a wrap up, I'll probably be a little over 38 minutes. I think I want to finish this track. We'll use the one to the middle left track. So as soon as I finish this track, I'll call this video completed, although I might just start on the next video right away, although I won't release them probably the same day, but I'll release them pretty close together though. Alright, let's see, how do I want to navigate around this depot here? As I said, you want to try and have kind of gentle curves so your trains don't lose much, if any, speed. There's probably going to have to be a little bit of a slowdown right there. At least once I get faster trains, at some point I may redo this piece, but just to get it a little bit straighter, but for now it'll be fine. Actually, before I end this video, I want to connect this. Alright, so we've got that connected. And actually, let's make the line. Okay, so we'll just say start at Seattle, Bellevue, Tempe, and as you can see, it lights up along the way, so that means you've got a clear path. If any time you don't see the light up, the highlight going all the way through to where you want it, that means that you've got a gap in your track somewhere, that there's not a path available. And then we need to hit Bellevue again on the way back. And you got to make sure to do that final step on the way back, because you don't want them to just go through the middle city without stopping, because then you're going to be, well, you might not lose money, but you're certainly not making the money you could be if you're not picking up people in Bellevue that want to go to Seattle. So got to try and remember to do that final step. Alrighty, so this video, pretty much the whole video, was just a preview of how I'm going to get this set up, and then the next one I'll finish doing the carriage lines, and then I should get trains rolling. 1.68 million, might have enough for 2 after I get done with carriage lines, but we'll see. Alright, well, thanks for watching. If this has helped, and if you liked it, give it a like. Thank you.